the bike's had new rear shocks, progressive shocks. Now what we're going to do is to look at how to replace the front. So I'm going to hand you over to Jed, who will talk us through what this actually entails.
So if you turn it round, obviously onto the bike. Obviously the first thing we've got to do, each leg has to be removed. If you're doing this yourself, obviously you need to jack it up and make sure that the front wheel's free. So we're off the ground at the minute and we're not in the clamp. We're going to release that and show you that. So the first thing we're going to do, we're not going to make it a long video, we'll show you bits that are of interest to you. So remove the rear fender, remove the rear wheel.
Front.
Start again. Remove the front fender. Oh, it's been a long day. Remove the front fender, remove the calipers, take out the wheel, and get down to your fork leg. At that point, we'll get to the fork leg and then we'll record again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend 5 minutes or so just removing them, and then we'll come back and show you a couple of tips then from there on. We've got the front fender out now, and we've got the front wheel off, so we've got our 2 fork legs. So at this point, what we're going to do is drain them off. Obviously now, if you've got the old shocks, these have been replaced at some time, and we've got the lovely Harley Davidson chrome ones on now. But if you've got the original ones, you will have the screw head. We call it a screw head for the oil drain. Now the likelihood is that's never been serviced or, you know, stripped out. It's very difficult. But if you've got the bike in this position, you can obviously rotate the legs, and then you can get an impact to get them out. So we're going to, this is Allen key now, which is, I'd recommend that you change your slotted ones to these. Bear in mind when you're doing it that they are metric now and not imperial. These are showy legs, which Harley fit, but they're metric. They always have been, so it's a metric. So this is a metric thing. So when you're putting them back in, you want metric Allen keys to go back. So we're just going to drain this off. Might have a cup of tea now and just drain them down for 10 minutes or so. We'll have a little cup of tea and we'll come back to you and then show you something else. Okay, so we're draining out and dripping out the oil now. So we want to actually remove the rear, the
front.
The front. Well, on rears, we've never moved on, have we? We want to replace the front leg, springing in the front leg. So we need to release the leg. Now there's all sorts of people say you've got to undo all the headlights and the fairings and all sorts of things up there, but that's not actually the case. Where everybody gets a little bit lost is that there's 2 bolts underneath, 2 pinch bolts underneath, and you can see the pinch element of where it tightens it up on the lower leg, the lower headstock. So you've got a 5/8 spanner. Take your ring, you span it, and you can feel it. You can feel where it is. It's just... why does it never find it? So there's the nut. So you get onto that and then undo, slacken that nut off, and then obviously both sides, and then obviously you would slacken the big nut on the top, which is 1 3/8. We'll show you, which is this nut here. So use 1 3/8 to undo that, do the one on the bottom, and then the leg will remove. We'll show you that. But just as an example, this is the 1 3/8 we use, and it actually set off as a big spanner. And then over the years, what we've done is we've manipulated 36mm as well. It's the same size. We've just ground it off because we do so many of these. We just ground it all off, and we can get it in. We've slimmed it that way as well. A little bit difficult if you're doing it. You can get in there though. You remove the handlebars, but we do this so that we don't have to remove the bars. We can just get in. Just a little thing if you want to use your grinder. Yep, knock it off. Yeah.
But it saves an awful lot of work in actually removing all the headlights and all the front end, doesn't it?
It does, and it's a lot quicker, and there's no need to undo it. I can get in there, so I can actually get in it and undo it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky, but once you get in, it makes it worse because this customer has put a new chrome and it has a chrome trim on it. A standard one doesn't have a chrome trim on the bottom, so this makes it a little bit more hard. Well, Steve likes his chrome, so there we go. So
as I've been told, I've got chromitis.
Yeah, he's definitely got an illness for it.
Yeah. Some people want the bikes blacked out, but unfortunately, I'm old-fashioned. I still like the chrome.
A little bit tricky these. Let's see what this one's like. Tighten it and slacken it. Yeah, we got it.
There you go.
Not the oil pan. A slight nip and then a slight undo. There we go. I'll get it somewhere. It's surprisingly difficult to do things when you're normally doing it on your own and you haven't got a camera.
Yeah.
When you've got a camera, it's a lot harder to do. So there you go.
Hence why I said normally I never see this being done, because I leave my bike and I come back and collect it the following day, and it's all done.
So we're gonna just send the bike down on the jack now a little bit, and we can get at the top ones. I have slightly slackened them off anyway. I cheated before we turned the camera on. I slackened them off because I wanted the oil to drain out.
Right.
So I have cheated. So it is
it is coming out, but very slowly.
There's the big spanner. The oil's slowly dripping. So obviously our big spanner fits on, no problem. We can get in and out there, no problem. I've seen people doing with an adjustable, but it's not really the done deal. They come out. You won't get a big spring popping out the top. Don't worry about that. If you're doing it, it doesn't do that. We'll show you when it does that afterwards. But at this point, it doesn't. So there's a rubber seal in here, and it won't pop out, but sometimes it just stops the bolt popping out. One thing we haven't done, and we should have done, and it's really bad practice, but because we're trying to do multiple things, we should have the tank protectors on now. And in fact, we'll just go and get the tank protectors and put them on. Even if you only use an old bath towel or anything like that, it's not good practice, and we definitely shouldn't be doing it with the cameras running. But we've just been talking about many things. Is getting it, Steve. So we'll just get the tank protectors out and do that. Right. So we've got the top bolt out, unpinched, and then the leg will come out. Now be very careful when you take the leg out that you've got hold of the bike, because what you can get is obviously it's now unbalanced and it'll swing over and potentially damage your bike. So now you've got your fork leg out, got a bit of oil on there and somebody's servicing it really well, which is good. It's not an oil leak. So to replace the spring, if we were replacing the seals at this point, we had a seal leak, which some people might be looking at this for a seal leak problem. At this point, what you would do for a seal replacement is remove the clip, and then you actually remove the bolt in the bottom of the leg. So you take this off and it goes up the bottom. It's an Allen key. Allen key up the release it, and then it's release that clip, and then what you do is you use it as a slide hammer. So you slide hammer it, boom 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 boom, and the seal will come out, and then the seal's out. New seal in, but it is a special tool. If you were doing it yourself at home, you actually need a piece of tubing that would go around, or you need the special tool. Special tool being this. This is the special tool to do it. Splits into two, but there's no real need to. Goes on, slide hammer, and puts the new seal in, and then you put the clip in. So if you were doing a seal replacement, that's what you do. We're not doing that. We're doing a spring replacement. So to spring replace, we can leave all the leg together, but we've got to remove the top. Now the issue here is this is tight and under pressure. So you need a vise at this point, a soft vise or a cloth held. A little bit tricky, but you can't clamp or damage anything here, because obviously it would damage your seal. But if we clamp up here, this point of the thing, only gently and softly enough to hold it, we can undo this. We'll show you that, and then we'll show you what's inside it. We've got it in the vise now, covered up, protected at the top of the leg. You can find it all fancy sorts of rubber guides and boots and all sorts of things to hold it, but then it's just a case of removing this. Now you've got to be careful now at this point, because obviously it can be tight. So this is obviously it's not tight, but the problem you've got is this is now spring loaded, so we've got pressure on it. So
I'm still not in a very good place here, am I?
Not really, no, you're going to get hit. So you just have to move around, because I need to be obviously on this side. So we'll just swap around.
Yeah.
What I do is obviously a hand on. It's not going to break your arm when it comes out, but it is loaded. It tends to be harder to put it back together, believe it or not, than take it to pieces. There you go. That was the pressure.
Yeah.
You can see it's not a great pressure, but the pressure's...
Yeah.
I remove that, you can see we've got... And that is the hard bit. When we reinstall, it's going to be harder. So there's a couple of silly bits with this to look at. And you can see this, and we're going to get the bench really bad. If you give us 1 second, we'll just pause 1 minute. I'm just going to get a tray. And got a tray now, just so that we don't end up with the garage. We've drained the oil, but obviously we're still going to get some residual oil in there. So as you can see, this is the standard spring. So you see the length of it. I'm only drawing it out carefully just so that we don't get covered in oil. So that's what we've got. What we're going to do now is we'll show you this. We're just going to wipe it down so we don't end up full of oil. We'll show you this against what we're going to put in now, the progressive system, which is a much shorter spring, which is progressively wound. So that means it's tighter, slacker going to tighter, and it's a shorter spring, and then it has a cut unit for intents and purposes. It's literally a piece of nylon piping to which we set the length of it for the amount of pressure and hardness that we want to ride. So we'll show you that in a minute. We'll just wipe this down and then we'll cut to that and show you that. So we've got the standard spring out, as we said, and the progressive spring. As I explained earlier, you can see that it's a tighter wound to a slacker wound. So immediately you can see the shorter length. But progressive suspension then give you the adjusting tube, nylon tubing with spacer, and actually goes at the top, spacer to adjust. Because it's a multi-fit kit, any bike, they then give you a list of relevant lengths that you then cut the tube to. And our particular model, we're on an STLS, so we're at 3.25 in inches. So we'll cut it down. Go on, Steve. I've got it wrong.
I thought no. It was just didn't have my glasses on. It said FLS, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still the same length if you look.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much there. So we'll cut this down.
Yeah.
And we'll put that in, and then that's it. Then we'll do the other tube, the other leg.
And that's it.
That's it. You've got it then. And then obviously then we put the correct amount of oil in it.
Yeah.
Point to note about the oils. There's all sorts of controversy as to what weights. Here we use 20 weight. And 20 weight is really good because our temperature is pretty cold. It's not like the States all the time when it's hot. So we have the colder weather. So we run 20 weight in ours in the UK. So anybody in the UK doing it, look at 20 weight.
Okay.
Okay, so everything's stripped down, we'll cut to length. Progressive spring. There's nothing in the instructions actually to tell you which way you orientate the spring, tight at the top or the bottom. We actually always put the tight at the bottom, and then in she goes.
Does it make any difference which way round it is?
I don't really know. To be honest, I don't think it does. We've put them in both ways round and asked our customers, and nobody's sort of picked up on it and said anything. Right. So the honest answer is we don't know. Next thing to do, obviously, then is to install your spacer to cut to length, which it is, and then your washer. We have another thing, an issue as well, is to does the washer go on the top or does it go on the bottom? We actually never know. Again, in the instructions, it doesn't tell you. We've put it both ways round. It doesn't seem to make any difference which way you do it. The tube will sit on top of the spring or it will sit on top of the washer, and also it won't go in the cap, so it does allow it. So on this occasion, I'm actually just going to do different to what we've just talked about. We're going to put the washer in first, and then we're going to put the spring in, and then what you can see now is the preload on it, so the tension, as to speak, and this is where it is a little bit tricky. So we've got to press that down and hold it and fit it. On some of the other bikes, it's better because this is actually a nut, which makes it a lot easier. Like on a Sportster, this is a nut, so you can put a big socket on and get a hold of it. This is more complicated because it's literally is an adjustable or a spanner on it. Find it better with the adjustable because you've got more to lean on, to physically, to press down and lean on it. So I'll have a go at it on camera, but if I start swearing, we'll have to edit it. So don't forget, obviously, wear your eye protection, get your gum shield in, get everything. So just make sure that that's tight, which it is. And it is, honestly, not an easy job at this stage. I usually lean on the other end of the bench. So if you get it in, and all you need is one turn.
And
I was nearly saying I'd got it then. But as you can see, just get that one turn, that first turn, Yep, we got it, guys.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable.
That's first time.
I want to start filming more often, I think. So that's it. It is tight, but obviously you can see I'm actually turning it now in the cloth, so that's tight enough. So bear in mind now, obviously we've got to fill this now with our oil again. So make sure that you've got your oil in. We'll stand that up now and put the appropriate weight of oil in through a funnel on the top. We'll show you that, what we do. And then you've got it then. And then that leg's ready to be reinstalled. So we'll show you that now. Yeah, you want to cut that off. Got the Fork Service oil manual. It's out with the manual, so it tells you the seal size. Great bit of information. You might be able to look at it, you might be able to use that for something that you're doing yourselves. But it gives the quantities and seal numbers and part numbers as well. It's quite an interesting bit of thing. So we know we're on a soft tail and we're on a FatBoy. So we know any relevant information that we want. So we're putting 13.2 ounces in, or the equivalent in millilitres is 397 millilitres. Or you can work it out in something else. Well, I haven't got a clue what it is. We just work in millilitres. It's far easier. We've just got an old cooking jug, and we put that in there. We use a funnel. It's a bit of a slow process, so don't get excited. It takes a minute or two just to fill each leg, but we do it at this stage, and then obviously. Stupid is, don't lie it down once you've filled it with oil, because obviously it'll all run back out again. So you just got to fill it up. We'll show you that, and then we'll put it on for you.
Okay,
so we've got our fork leg, we've got our ton dish funnel, and our measured amount of oil. It's quite simple, but you've got to remember you've got no air coming back out of here. So if you fill it straight up, it'll blow back in your face and you'll end up wearing it. So just a little slow pour, and allow the air to come out through where you're filling it. You overfill the ton dish, then it's blowback time. So it's quite simple, nothing hard about it, nothing secret about it, just dead straightforward. So too much, let it come out, blew back. So there you go, that's what it can do. Yeah, in fact we'll show you that one. And just overfill it a bit too much, there we go.
Oh wow, there you go. Yeah.
So, and just let it bubble.
As you say, you can wear it nicely.
Yeah, so it's not a really good aftershave, but there you go.
Yeah.
Always something else to check as well. They actually give you what's called a dry weight and a wet weight, a wet or dry quantity. So we're doing this as a wet weight. So
what does that mean?
Well, if it's dry, what it means is it's been completely stripped, completely wiped out, no trace of oil. A wet weight is where it's been stripped down like we've done it. We've drained as much we can get out, and then it's wet basically. It's not
so there's still stuff in there somewhere.
There's an element of oil, a certain small amount. So we call it a wet weight. So if you were doing this on your bike, which you can do, and not replacing, just doing a service, you would look for the wet weight,
right?
And that's what you had to. So, like we were just joking before, we've got it all in now. Don't lie it down.
Don't lie it down; it'll all come out again.
Yeah, you get wet again. So, yeah, you just put it on the bike then from there on, which is pretty straightforward. Now, if we can get it up, there you go. Obviously you've got a left leg and a right leg going back in. In, and then whatever we did with our bolts, here they are. So when we were saying before, you've got the rubber washer, this is your bolt and your rubber washer that's in the top. What we always say is, if you screw that back on again, when you're reinstalling, it just sits in the top of the top headstock, but it just makes it a lot easier for you just to get the threads in. You can remove this and sit it back in the headstock, but then you've got to screw through it. So it's dead easy that way. Plus the fact you don't lose it.
Yeah.
So just back in, just simply find it, and then make sure then your washer's got centralised, so that it comes through it. Well, that's it, tighten it up.
Yep.
Tighten the pinch bolt up. Don't forget the pinch bolt.
Don't forget the pinch bolt.
No, pinch bolt's the one not to forget. So tighten the pinch bolt up. That's it. So do it, repeat on the other side. You've got your new springs.
Well, I hope you found that video informative of putting the front shocks on. Obviously, hopefully you've watched the one before putting the rear shocks on. So now I've got progressive shocks front and rear, and because I was down at my mechanic's place in Anglesey, I then had a 135-mile ride home to try them out and to see what the new shocks actually felt like. And I didn't get a dramatic difference, but what I really felt was the bike was so much more solid. It seemed to handle better, and also the potholes that we have in the roads in the UK. I mean, I don't know where the money goes that we're taxed to hell for to improve the roads. They never seem to spend any money on it. We've probably got the worst roads in the world. But when I hit the potholes, I didn't bottom out, or it just seemed to ride them so much better than it did before. So there obviously is a lot of improvement in having progressive shocks on the bike. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, but I'm sure that a lot of you have been a bit disappointed that at the beginning of this one, I could feel just how anxious you were that there was no little joke at the beginning. So when I got home last night, and from the ride, and met my other half, she'd obviously been doing something with her eyebrows, and they looked to me as though they were a little bit too high. And I told her about it, and she seemed surprised. I'm here all week. Anyway, please subscribe and press the bell. And I've got another video that I'm doing at the moment that I took at the same time while I was down at the workshop about a failure point on a FatBoy, that on the early FatBoy anyway, that's mine, 20 years old, that you may find useful. So tune in for the next one. Okay, bye for now.